With the economy constantly in flux, small business owners must keep their eyes open for potential risks that may arise. It's essential to stay ahead of such matters and take necessary measures to protect against unforeseen events. We got the chance to chat with Paul Gaspar, Director of Small Business at UPS Canada. Paul's role is to educate and guide small businesses in Canada on ways to better leverage UPS's tools to help them grow and expand both domestically and internationally. With his team of small business ambassadors, he empowers small business owners to determine the best mix of customized services, technologies, and innovations available to them. In this podcast, Paul discussed the opportunities and trends in the SMB space over the next few years, the biggest challenges facing small businesses in 2023, and how UPS can help overcome these challenges. He also shared his tips for small business owners looking to expand their company in 2023. Hi, Paul. On behalf of Canadian SME, I'd like to welcome you to our small business podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me, Maheen.
I'm very pleased to have you with us this morning and yet another time. It's always a pleasure. And today, Paul, we wanted to discuss how can small businesses really continue to weather against the, uncertain times. And we know with the right preparation, small businesses can continue to work in the uncertain times in 2023 and beyond. They need to identify areas of risky early in a critical step forward, forming an effective strategy. And that will really allow them to be better prepared while ensuring profitability and success down the road. We would love your insights into letting our audience know how can a small business prepare for a risk in an ever-changing economy? And what would you say is the most important thing for SMBs to focus on during uncertain times?
Yeah, and Maheen, it sounds like a really daunting question to start off with, but
Right.
to me, it's actually I think it's an easy one for me to answer, and I'll share two words with you: business processes is where I think I need to focus. If there's one thing I've learned on my long tenure at UPS, is that constantly reviewing your entire business, how it works, is critical, especially during uncertain times. And this applies to businesses of all sizes, right? So you don't have to be a large global company like UPS. You can be a small startup, and you need to be focusing on those processes. Not easy, right? It's a lot easier to say this than to actually do it, but it's extremely important because doing it right, it gives you an opportunity to look at areas of improvement, areas of potential risk, areas where you can reduce costs, or even discover areas of new opportunities, right? So small businesses, especially when they're starting out, what do they focus on, right? My funding, how can I get funding so I can get to the next stage? Marketing, sales, right? And they start to grow, and that's what they continue to focus on. But it's critical that they start focusing on other areas, specifically on making sure their business is efficient as it can be, and reduce any potential risks. And I'll give you just one example. A business, as it starts to grow, they obviously rely on suppliers. It could be for their products, it could be for raw materials, whatever that is for their specific business. But as they start to grow, they need their suppliers to be able to scale with them. Well, will their suppliers be able to grow at their pace? Or even worse, will their suppliers even be there tomorrow? Right? How secure are their suppliers? Will they be there? So understanding your business processes and going through it constantly allows you to look at these areas where you can improve or even reduce risks, especially when there's an uncertain economy, uncertain times where things like that can happen, right? And by the way, reviewing your business process is not a one and done, right? People do, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm done. Every time you have a material change in your business, a new product, new supplier, new market, you need to do a deep dive. And if those things don't change, if it's pretty stable, at least do it periodically, right? To ensure that you have ongoing success. And of course, you're reducing any risks that you might have.
Right. No, you're 100% right. SMBs should stay informed of potential opportunities in the next few years to really ensure they remain competitive and maximize their success. And emerging trends may provide a way for them to gain an edge. Paul, on that note, are there any opportunities or trends that you see happening in the SMB space over the next few years?
You know what? Yes, opportunities and trends. And in fact, I'd like to give you an example of each, but I'm going to start with trends, right? A huge trend heading into the pandemic that will forever change how we do and sell or buy or sell is technology, right? Of course, I'm referring to the e-commerce boom, right? So SMBs have learned during the last few years about the importance of being online, right? The e-commerce boom surprised everyone. I don't care how established you were or not, even if you're already connected, right? Now, luckily, many businesses were able to either get themselves online and survive, and many even thrived, right? But now is the time to double down, to lean even more into technology. Online sales are expected to exceed $6 trillion USD this year. I'll say it again, 6 trillion. I mean, I don't even know how many zeros that is, to be honest, right? It's huge. So customers are demanding more, right, from their experience when they're online. So businesses need to invest more and or take advantage of partners' technologies, right, that can help streamline their internal processes and efficiencies at the same time, right? Um, think about what you can learn from your customers while online. All that data that you can actually capture with regards to their behavior, right? What is it that they're purchasing from you? How often are they purchasing from you? How often they come to your site? What preferences are they doing? Even their locations. There's so much data that you can learn to improve your processes, be efficient, and that's why you need to invest in the technology, not just for the customer's experience, but back end in order to improve your business and your success, right? What has also been gained is the knowledge and potential of new customers and new markets, right? What can you learn from your website? Well, you can learn where your customers are coming from. And if you are, let's say, local, doing business only in Ontario, for example, you might start realizing that, hey, I got customers from BC that are coming to my site and looking at my products or trying to buy from me. Or I might have customers from another part of the world that seem to be interested in what I have to sell as well too. So that is important information because that allows you now to know what new markets you could potentially go to globally as well, right? And take advantage of those opportunities. So that leads into the opportunity side, right? So now you've got the opportunity where you can actually diversify and go into new markets. We as individuals are always told by our financial advisors to do what? Diversify, right? Diversify your portfolio. Well, as a business, you should be doing the exact same thing. You should diversify what markets you're in with your business, because by doing that, you are reducing your risks, right? Especially in uncertain times. If you have an economy somewhere that might have a downturn, if you're in other economies, hopefully their downturn is not as much or might not happen, and you're able to actually ride that. And that's something that we know from exporters. Exporters weather these economic ups and downs better than businesses that don't export and are just local, right? Plus, exporters have a whole bunch of other advantages as well too. On average, they make more money, they grow faster, they are more productive and competitive. They're better connected and stay in business longer. But that's a whole other discussion that we can save for some other time.
No, really, I hope and let's be sure that small businesses do not miss out on these exciting chances. Now, Paul, to help prepare for success, SMBs should consider what challenges will come their way by 2023 so that they can be well equipped with solutions. What do you think are the biggest challenges facing small
Mhm.
businesses in 2023?
Yeah. So depending on where you sort of get that information, you'll have different aspects of it. But what I can share with you is data that we actually gathered from UPS customer surveys that we've done the last couple of years, and it hasn't changed much to just as we were heading into the pandemic and as we're sort of coming out of it. We're hearing the same sort of four key areas that SMBs are saying that are challenging for them. The first one is interrupted cash flow. They're also talking about disruptions to their supply chain. We've heard that. I mean, that's all over the news. Labor constraints is another one. Shouldn't be a surprise to everyone. And then a change in customers' behavior, right? Which I've touched on already a bit, right? Shifting from a lot of the B2B to B2C and basically going all digital. Now, the good thing is some of the tips to help you with some of these challenges, it's what we've been talking about already today, right? So, for example, looking at going into new markets, well, that's a way of addressing cash flow constraints, right? You're expanding where your products, the lifeline of your products, what markets you can take more products into. It can help with some of that cash flow challenges. Improving processes and removing areas of risk. Well, that's going to ensure that you've got a more robust supply chain, therefore having less challenges in the demands and meeting your customers' requirements. Driving technology improvements. Well, that's going to improve customers' experience and their journey, which obviously is a greater demand that businesses face today, right? So these are all examples of how these challenges that we're hearing customers are facing can actually be averted or at least reduced as they move forward.
Right. Now, talking about, and let's touch base on the e-commerce side of things as well. Now, UPS is a leader in the logistics space. So what should small businesses really focus on with their logistics to reduce their risks and costs? What do you think about this, Paul?
Yeah. So in the space that UPS is in, logistics space, we really think that this is a great time to both review your supply chain and as well as customer journeys, right? It's almost a dedicated focus of what I've talked about, right? Because customer journeys can cover a lot of aspects. Supply chain tends to be more from the logistics perspective, but focusing on those two when you're talking about logistics specifically in the movement of your goods, it's critical, right? So, for example, doing a supply chain mapping exercise with your logistics provider will help you identify areas where you need to focus more on, right? It's important to note that this exercise is not just about the flow of goods, because every time I mention that, people are like, well, he's talking about mapping how, my goods move, right? Either my products or my resources. Yes, that's one component. But mapping your supply chain also maps out the flow of information and the flow of funds. It's such an important thing these days, right? Customers' experience, right? Think about it. They want information. Maheen, you and I, we go online, we order something, we buy something. As soon as we place that order, what's the next thing we do? We look for our inbox to see, is there confirmation of that order? And when's that tracking number coming, right? Information, that's what people want. So mapping that out and understanding that you've got the best processes in place for the movement of goods, the information, the funds is so critical for your business, right? And it's important to make sure that you're managing that. So it's the information, providing options for customers, speed versus cost, right? We're in this world of free shipping. Well, there's no such thing as free shipping, right? Somebody is paying for the shipping. So do we offer a lower cost alternative or do we offer speed? Well, maybe you need to offer both depending on what your customers want, right? Fulfilling orders efficiently, right? Do I fulfill orders myself or do I outsource to somebody that can do it? Processing returns, right? It's funny because when I talk to businesses and we talk about returns, that's when they sort of cover their eyes and look away and they're like, I don't want to talk about returns. It's a pain as a business owner. But as consumers, all of us, we expect and want to know what the return policies are with the businesses that we're buying from, right? So having a good return process in place can actually help differentiate you from your competition and improve your opportunities as well, right? So let me give you an example if I could, right? So if there's an opportunity to reduce costs, if there's an opportunity for you as a business to reduce your costs and delivery time by fulfilling orders from a strategically located partner warehouse, just like a UPS fulfillment program, why not do that? And when I speak to businesses, they sort of go, well, what do you mean, Paul? So an example would be talking to a business here in Mississauga. I can let them know that, hey, If you want UPS, for example, to fulfill your products out of our warehouse in Calgary for all of your West Coast orders, believe it or not, it's going to be faster for your customers to get their orders because it's coming from Calgary as opposed to Mississauga. And it's going to be less costly in shipping and fulfillment than if you were to ship it from here. So as a
Mm-hmm.
business, you're saving time and you're improving your customers' experience, right? And they're
Right.
surprised when I say that. They're like, what, really? And I go, yes. So knowing, now you need to, you need to know what your customers expect. You need to know what improvements or changes you can make in your processes. And of course, you need to ask for help, right? Talk to your strategic partners like a UPS, where they can give you these options and these opportunities for you to, reduce costs and improve customers' experience.
Absolutely. I mean, really, by harnessing these expansive capabilities offered by UPS, they can really seize a competitive edge that puts small business owners miles ahead. Now, Paul, for small businesses looking to grow, 2023 presents unique opportunities. And by using creative strategies and concepts from experienced leaders like yourself, those eager for expansion can really take their business to the next level. As we wrap up our conversation today, what tips would you recommend to a small business owners looking to expand their company in 2023?
From our perspective, we really want SMBs to continue to be unstoppable. And that's something you're going to hear a lot more from UPS in 2023 moving forward, right? From our campaign and how we want to support businesses. And basically that means them being more resilient. And just like they've shown us over the last couple of years, because businesses had to be resilient as we went into and through this whole pandemic, right? So to be specific, I basically, the advice I can provide is really summarizing a lot of the talking points that we already went through. And then I've got one additional one to finish off. Increase your efficiencies, right? You need to be proactive, right? Don't wait to have problems in your business before you start looking to see how you can make improvements or look for opportunities, right? So be proactive and improve those efficiencies. Study your customers, right? When I started at UPS, and I won't say how long ago that was, the focus was really with the shipper, right? The shipper was the one in charge of shipping. They controlled when their customers would get their products, what they shared information. Really, that's how it was. And there was B2C, but a lot of it was B2B. That's changed. B2C is expanding and booming. That's where customers are, and they're the ones that are dictating to their businesses that they're buying from what they expect. So study your customers, know what they want, help differentiate yourselves from the competition so you can succeed and grow. And invest in technology, double down. It's time to do that, right? It's going to help internally, externally. It's going to do a lot for you. It's going to help protect your labor costs as well too. There's so much that you can do with technology that you need to invest. And if you've done it, great. You probably can do even more. Diversify into new markets. Again, that's a whole other topic, right? I can spend a whole podcast with you, Maheen, that's talking about why you should do that and the importance behind that. But that will help, especially as we go through 2023, not knowing what's happening on the global landscape or here locally in our back door. Doing that can help you with that, right? And then one that I haven't mentioned yet that I want to wrap up with is get help, right? There are so many resources available. You just need to ask, right? And it can be daunting. You might, be overwhelmed at certain times. But if you ask for help and keep reinforcing where you need help, there are so many ways you can do that. All levels of government, right? There's BDC, there's EDC, there's the Trade Commissioner Services, right? Local programs from municipal and provincial governments as well too, all to help businesses thrive locally, help them scale locally, go global. So
Mm-hmm.
many different things. Right? Helps from corporations, right? If you're talking logistics, UPS is an example where you can talk to your logistics provider and ask us. We're in 220 countries around the world. I think we know a little bit about logistics, right? So come and ask us questions. We're more than glad to help answer your questions, and make sure you're on the right path in the space that we know. But then you can get that support from other corporations in the other verticals that you need from your business as well. There's ecosystem organizations, right? And Mahim, I know you're aware that, UPS, we partner with others as well too, right? Startup Canada is an example, Revolution Her, the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business, CCAB. These are all organizations that we are partnered with because they're there to help their ecosystems, and we want to provide our support in helping them meet their goals as well. And I'll leave with one last one, Canadian SME Magazine,
Yes.
right? Think about it, right? You've got the summit, the expo, the podcast like we're doing now, right? So there are so many places where you can get help. You just need to ask, look for it, ask for help, and you'll find a lot of people that are there to help you along your journey.
Absolutely. No, we're very, very grateful for UPS's support, especially for our UPS Small Business of the Day initiative, which is intended to help small business owners in every way possible in terms of getting them the exposure they require. But Paul, your tips and advice will definitely prove to be a great resource for companies looking to navigate new risks during these uncertain times. So thank you so much for sharing your invaluable insights on how small businesses can look ahead and succeed in the ever-changing landscape. We really appreciate your presence today.
Thank you, Maheen. Always a pleasure.
With an eye to the future, Paul provided invaluable advice on how small businesses can leap ahead of their competition and succeed in 2023's dynamic market. We hope you enjoyed it. Once again, we would like to thank our exclusive banking partner, RBC, exclusive shipping partner, UPS, and our exclusive accounting software partner, Xero, for supporting this initiative. Please do share the podcast and feel free to check out the other episodes. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine to stay up to date on all our upcoming events and get the top business insights from industry leaders. This is Maheen, your host for the Small Business Podcast.